Hi, I'm Beth Accomando, KPBS arts reporter, and I am here at San Diego Comic-Con, where there is going to be a mock court-martial of Poe Dameron. This is a serious issue, and I have here one of the prosecutors. So introduce yourself and explain to me, what are these charges all about?
I'm Major Thomas Harper. I'm representing the resistance on behalf of the prosecution. So Poe is charged with some serious stuff here. Three of the most serious crimes under the Resistance Uniform Code of Military Justice: willfully disobeying a superior officer, mutiny, and conduct unbecoming an officer and a gentleman.
You don't really look like a lawyer right now. Can we believe that you are a prosecutor?
General Organa was nice enough to grant me a bit of leave ahead of the trial. It's a very stressful thing, so she thought a little break might help me and do me good.
So what do you think your odds are of seeing this through to some sort of resolution?
Greater than 3,720 to 1, I'll tell you that. We hope and we trust the panel, or the jury as civilians call them, that they'll deliver the verdict and bring swift justice and an end to this case.
All right, and we have someone who is representing General Organa, and so introduce yourself.
My name's Rachel Williams. I'm one of the members of the Rebel Legion local base, Sunrider base, and I will be playing Leia at the trial.
So what do you feel Leia's point of view is in all of this?
I feel like, given where the film left off, this is a little unnecessary, but he did break a lot of rules. So, and there's very serious rules that resulted in a lot of people being killed unnecessarily. So she would understand the necessity of it.
Do you feel that she might be a little bit conflicted on this?
Possibly, because again, what really are the options? It's necessary, but it's not really a good time for any of this to come up.
And we also have here the person standing in for Poe Dameron. So introduce yourself.
I'm Marcus Holt, and I'm also a member of Rebel Legion in the Sunrider base here, and representing Poe tonight, and hoping we get a good verdict.
What do you think your odds are of beating these charges?
Well, I heard a good quote once, and it pretty much never tell me the odds. That's how I've stayed alive this long.
Do you think this is fair? Do you feel a little frustrated about this?
Oh, absolutely. People like to, Monday morning quarterback, something that happens, and they're not in the moment, so they don't fully understand what's at stake in the moment, and sometimes people got to make decisions, and those decisions aren't always popular.
All right, and we have Steve Chu, who is from the Legal Geeks, which is the organization putting on this court-martial here. They've done some great trials over at WonderCon and Comic-Con in the past. So tell us a little bit about Legal Geeks.
So the Legal Geeks are a group of lawyers that love science fiction, comic books, fantasy, and especially Star Wars, and we're taking our real-life legal skills and trying to apply them to the fantasy world.
So in this particular case, you are going to be representing Poe. So what kind of a defense are you going to mount?
Well, it is my privilege to represent this wrongfully accused resistance hero. I can't share too much of our strategy yet because, we're going to show up and kind of see what happens. But we've got a few hours to prepare.
So what can people coming to this panel expect? What kind of things are they going to actually learn, either about Star Wars or about the law?
Well, we're hoping that it will be both entertaining and educational. We're incorporating legal elements, so we're going to try to make it look like a real court-martial. But of course, our canon, rather than the rule of law, will really be the rule of Star Wars.
And who's presiding over this case?
That would be the Honorable Galactic Mitchell Denbin, who is a United States magistrate judge and a huge Star Wars fan. His knowledge sometimes, on a good day, will rival ours.
And where and when can people find this?
That should be 8 p.m. tonight. I believe it is room 7AB at the Star Wars room. We've heard a lot of interest, so if you're coming, please come, but please come early.
And if people are interested in the Legal Geeks and following where they're going to be next, where can they find information about that?
So I would recommend it. Please take a look at the website. That's legalgeeks.com. There is also a Twitter feed and a Facebook page. Joshua Gilliland is really the person behind a lot of that, and he will be at the panel tonight.
And do you have any final words about this case?
There are so many to choose from. I'll just go with the generic, that we're hoping that the Force will be with us always.
And from the prosecution side, what final words do you have?
Never tell us the odds.
All right. I'm Beth Accomando, KPBS arts reporter. I am here at San Diego Comic-Con. Come check out this trial. We will try to provide some updates during the evening about how the case is going, so check back.
My name is Joshua Gilliland. I'm one of the founding attorneys of the Legal Geeks. Thank you for joining us tonight. Friday at 8 o'clock, and it's a full house. Justice is the force that holds society together. We are here tonight to discuss the legal issues from The Last Jedi, specifically the actions of Poe. There are multiple charges against Poe for what happened throughout The Last Jedi, and we will explore those tonight. And so, please all rise for the Honorable Judge Mitch Debin for our mock trial tonight.
Please be seated. This Article 39A session is called to order.
Your Honor, this court-martial is convened by Court-Martial Convening Order Number 37, Resistance Headquarters, dated December 9th, 2017. The charges have been properly referred to this court for trial and were served on the accused. The prosecution is ready to proceed in the case of the Resistance versus Captain Poe Dameron. The accused... Laugh it up, fuzzballs. The accused and the following persons detailed to this court are present.
The jury will disregard fuzzballs.
Yes, Your Honor. Colonel Mitch Debin, military judge. Major Megan Hitchcock and Major Thomas Harper, prosecution. And Major Christine Peake and Major Stephen Chu, defense counsel.
I'd ask trial counsel to announce the general nature of the charges, please.
Your Honor, the general nature of the charges in this case are 3 violations of the Resistance Uniform Code of Military Justice, including failure to obey an order in violation of Article 92, mutiny and sedition in violation of Article 94, and conduct unbecoming an officer and a gentleman in violation of Article 133.
I'd ask the accused and defense counsel to please stand. Captain Dameron, how do you now plead?
Not guilty.
The facts of the case are these. During the evacuation of Jakar, then Wing Commander Poe Dameron disobeyed a direct order from General Leia Organa and led an attack on the First Order Dreadnought Fulminatrix. His actions resulted in the death of the entire Cobalt Squadron, 8 bombers and 3 X-Wings, and reduced the Resistance down to 400 people on 3 capital ships.
Good evening, Your Honor, and members of the purely advisory jury. Poe Dameron has dedicated his life to the Resistance. When General Organa called on him to carry out the most dangerous and important missions, he was always first in line to risk his life, to be a champion for those who could not fight, because he could not accept a galaxy ruled by cruelty. And now, Poe Dameron stands accused of mutiny, disobeying orders, and conduct unbecoming. Now, during this trial, you're going to hear evidence that as Dameron was completing a mentally and physically exhausting run on the Dreadnought Fulminatrix, he disobeyed an order to disengage because he feared the consequences if he did not finish the job. And the evidence will also show that he has already been punished for that offense, on the spot. He is now Captain Dameron, not Wing Commander Dameron. To prove the charge of mutiny, the prosecution must show beyond a reasonable doubt that Poe Dameron, the leader of Black Squadron, who survived torture at the hands of Kylo Ren, who then went on to fire the shot that destroyed the Starkiller base, that Poe Dameron had specific intent to usurp or override the lawful military authority of the Resistance, the organization he had so faithfully served from the moment General Organa personally recruited him. But the law provides that if Captain Dameron could not have formed that specific intent because he made an honest mistake of fact, then he cannot be guilty of mutiny. The evidence in this case will show that at the time of the alleged offense, Dameron started to doubt Vice Admiral Holder's loyalty, and that his doubt grew to the point where he honestly but mistakenly believed that she was a traitor. And as stupid as that sounds, you're going to hear that's actually the word he yelled at her, traitor. The same word Kylo Ren yelled at Finn, the rebel formerly known as FN 2187.
Ma'am, based on your experience, would you say that Captain Dameron is often rash?
Have you met an X-Wing pilot before?
Ma'am, to be fair, before this I was a cook in the Resistance, but the Battle of Crate really opened some career doors for me.
Obviously.
Ma'am, as a general, do you expect that your orders will be followed?
I do.
When you give an order, is it subject to debate?
Typically no.
If you were to, say, order a subordinate to get into the garbage chute flyboy, would you expect that that order be followed through?
I would.
When your orders are disobeyed by subordinates, can people get hurt or injured, or hurt or die?
They can.
Ma'am, I want to take you forward to the evacuation of Resistance forces from Dakar. Now that evacuation was triggered by the First Order bringing their fleet into orbit above our base, was it not?
It was because we destroyed Starkiller Base, and that gave away our position, so we needed to get off the planet immediately before they tracked us back there.
Ma'am, what was Captain Dameron's role during that evacuation operation?
During the evacuation, then Commander Dameron at the time, as soon as the First Order fleet showed up, he came up with a plan to distract the First Order while we waited for the last of our transports to get off planet.
Is it accurate that our forces had 4 ships above Dakar and a handful of starfighters?
That is correct.
Did our forces in orbit above Dakar have the firepower to go toe-to-toe and destroy the First Order fleet?
Absolutely not. The First Order fleet showed up with 3 Star Destroyers and that dreadnought. We had a handful of ships, including a medical frigate.
And with that in mind, with that lack of firepower, what was the Resistance objective then?
It was to escape.
As a wing commander at the time, is it fair to say that Captain Dameron would have been well aware of that objective?
He would have.
When the last of the Resistance forces escaped Dakar and boarded the Radis, what did you instruct Poe to do?
I instructed him to come on back.
Was this an invitation or an order?
That was an order.
Ma'am, was there any ambiguity in what you ordered Poe to do?
There was not. He argued a little bit because he saw an opportunity to destroy that dreadnought. However, I gave him an order and I said, that is an order.
Ma'am, what did Poe do in response?
He either pretended he couldn't hear me or just ignored it or maybe turned off his comm and proceeded to do it anyways. You sent Dameron on some pretty dangerous missions, didn't you? I did. Was one of those missions to go to Jakku to find a map to your brother? It was. And on that mission, Captain Dameron was captured by Kylo Ren, correct? He was. General, isn't it true that Kylo Ren is your son?
Objection, Your Honor. Assumes facts not in canon.
Your Honor, if I may, this goes to the witness's credibility.
Overruled. Please answer, General.
Ben Solo was my son. Are you aware Captain Dameron witnessed your son kill Lor Santeca on Jakku? He told me he did. What about the fact that Dameron witnessed your son order the deaths of innocent civilians? Did Dameron report that to you? He did. And did he also report that your son tortured him on the finalizer? He did. And after all of that, Captain Dameron was put back on active flight status for both the confrontation on Takodana and the assault on Starkiller Base, wasn't he? Have you ever tried to stop Poe when he thinks he can help? He flew those missions, correct? He did. And then just after the destruction of Starkiller Base, you had Captain Dameron engage the First Order in the evacuation of Dakar. Again, that was his plan. Thinking back to the time when Dameron returned to the Radis after leading an assault that took out a First Order dreadnought, you demoted him on the spot, correct? I did. And you slapped him for good measure. I got my point across. But you didn't put Captain Dameron in custody, did you?
No.
Didn't you also tell him at that time that you needed him to learn there are things that you can't solve by jumping in an X-Wing and blowing things up?
I did.
And right after that, didn't you give Dameron permission to, quote, jump in an X-Wing and blow something up?
Situations change in those very few moments. We suddenly found ourselves at the mercy of the entire First Order fleet. So yes, at the time, that is what I needed him to do.
I noticed the Captain Dameron is armed, and I would request, and he's under court-martial, so I would ask that defense counsel disarm him to ensure the safety of the prosecuting team.
I've been told that he shoots blanks.
Wait till the next movie.
Good to go. Captain Dameron, good evening. We'll assume that the jury is generally familiar with you. However, can you briefly tell us who you are and what you do in the Resistance?
Well, it's been stated already. I'm Captain Poe Dameron, former wing commander with the Resistance under General Organa. Have been for some time. I think you've heard a lot of it already. I've done several missions for her, and I act on her behest most of the time, and I'm here to rid this galaxy of the First Order if it's the last thing I do.
And you're an X-Wing pilot?
Yes, I am.
Are you a good X-Wing pilot?
Well, you know, this court might find me guilty, innocent, whatever, but the one thing they're not going to find is a better pilot in this galaxy.
Captain Dameron, were you involved in the evacuation of Dakar?
I was.
And let's get right to it then. During that evacuation, did you refuse an order to stand down?
I did.
We do not deny Captain Dameron's actions. We've shown you why he did what he did. We therefore ask that you find Captain Dameron not guilty for disobeying orders, not guilty for mutiny, and not guilty for conduct unbecoming an officer. He could only act with the knowledge that he had at that time. It is easy to second guess in hindsight, but based on what he knew at the time when he thought that Vice Admiral Hodel could be a traitor, he had to act. He could not simply blindly follow orders. And I remind everyone in this room that we are the spark that will light the fire, that will burn the First Order to the ground. Thank you.
So normally we'd have a jury, but as you know, we don't have enough Resistance officers left to form a jury, so I'll be deciding the case, but I could use a little help. Did Poe Dameron disobey orders? If you think yes, raise your hand.
I see all you who have your hands down.
He has a future in the First Order. Did Poe Dameron act contrary to being as an officer and a gentleman? Was his conduct unbecoming an officer and gentleman? Yes? Closer. Did Poe Dameron commit mutiny? Yes? That's the most serious charge, and I will accept the advisory panel's verdicts. I will find... We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
May we impose an additional question? Was Captain Dameron justified?
Well,
in his
we're not...
actions?
No.
Thank you.
Nope. That's a matter for sentencing, not a matter for guilt or innocence. It is not a defense.
But it should be.
So the accused, please rise. Captain Dameron, you're found guilty of mutiny, found guilty of disobeying orders, and not guilty of conduct unbecoming. The question is that of sentencing. Who thinks Poe Dameron should be put to death? Say yes. I agree that he should not be put to death.
No Christmas cards
How
for
many
you that rose your hand.
How many people believe he should get a medal? How many people think he should be sentenced to a term of years? So here's the way here's what I'm going to do. He's not going to be put to death. He's not getting a medal. I do believe that Captain Dameron, for causing the unnecessary loss of life, decimating the resistance as he did, should serve a term of years. But I feel like as long as I keep him in this universe, he is going to be a distraction. I believe banishment is an appropriate punishment for Captain Dameron. But again, I don't know where in this universe I could send him. Close. I am going to banish Captain Dameron to another universe. I am going to sentence Captain Dameron to 10 years at the penal colony on Rurapente.
Major Thomas Harper with the Resistance Prosecutor Office. We are obviously pleased with the verdict. It's not a great day for the resistance. It is a great day for justice. We feel that the jury rendered and the judge rendered an appropriate verdict here. Unfortunately for Captain Dameron, while we could certainly use his services, he just took it a little too far this time. And so unfortunately we'll have to see him when he returns back from the Star Trek universe.
Terrible result. I think that the jury really wanted to rule in our favor, but the judge has shot him down. We're sad to see this, but we will be appealing immediately.
Thank you very much.